I'm back again. I want to talk about a pretty insidious little concept that sinks into the psyche of a lot of singers I know, a lot of the singers that I work with as a voice teacher. It sinks into my psyche, and it's definitely also there in patients that I see in voice therapy or that I've observed other voice therapists work with. Um, and for singers, I'm going to couch it in that question of, are you a good singer or a bad singer? And yes, I have a really, really bad Glinda impression. Are you a good witch or a bad? Yeah, I can't do it. Okay, so that it's part of that binary, good singer, bad singer, good person, bad person. Are you good at this or are you bad at this? Are you a success or are you a failure? Are you pretty or are you ugly? I suppose you can think so many things in life, especially in the United States of America. I'm sure other cultures probably are a little different about this, but we tend to distill everything into these two options, into this binary system of like good or bad, right or wrong, you know? And I think that it can really hinder progress because we seem to fail to understand what it means to train for something, what the process of learning tends to mean, the amount of time you have to invest, how much you essentially have to suck at it for a while before you get better at a thing. We tend to underestimate all of those sort of things, right? So I find that to be, especially the right or wrong. When somebody first starts out in voice and in voice therapy, it's usually, this is usually how it goes. You can say for either one, whether it's the first session or first voice lesson, okay? Hopefully, if I've done my job well, they experience something about, they experience vocal release for the first time in a while. For the singer, it might be on that one high note on that song that they brought that's really challenging for them. For the patient, it might be, this is the first time I've talked or just used my voice in years without feeling a lot of strain right here, right? So, they have that experience. And it's amazing, and it's so great, and it feels amazing, and I totally nailed that passage in my song, and oh my gosh, my voice feels great. And they leave the session or they leave the lesson and they want to recreate that amazing thing. And I want them to. I want them to practice at home and recreate it for themselves, right? But a lot of times you walk out and you think, now that I got it, I had that experience like once, I can have it 100% of the time if I just make sure I do it right? It becomes like, that felt bad, I'm doing it wrong, right? Instead of, okay, I didn't quite get there, let me try again, right? That tends to not be the default that people use. So I would encourage everyone to actually start using that default of, it's incredibly unlikely that you're going to walk out of either a therapy session or a voice lesson and think to yourself, and expect yourself actually to do it 100% of the time right forever. That's incredibly unlikely. Not saying it couldn't happen. There are always those people out there that just like seem to get it and it's like, poof, done. But if you're not one of those people, you're like most of us actually. Those people who just suddenly get it and poof, it's done, they're pretty rare actually. So, so be nice to yourself, be patient with yourself, and don't go into a new thing with the expectation that you will be amazing at it, perfect at it, first shot, Because what's actually more likely to happen is essentially what's happening to me right now because I just decided to start jogging more, partly because we moved to a city with amazing food, and now I'm eating a lot, and I really don't want to have to buy jeans because I really hate having to buy jeans, you know what I'm saying? Like, shopping for jeans. So, it's my motivation to keep my waistline relatively the same so I can still fit in my jeans. My motivation is to jog. So I started jogging. Got good shoes, got supportiveness, all the stuff. Doing really well. I went out for my first jog. I did a mile. I felt awesome. I was like, wow, I actually made it a mile. Didn't think that was going to happen on my first jog. Go me. right? And now I've been doing it for a couple of months around about now. And now when I jog, I don't tend to have that like, yeah, awesome, I totally did 2 miles today, woot feeling. I have a, whew, okay, I made it, whew, done for today, check that off my list, right? The excitement, the thrill of accomplishing a thing I didn't think I would accomplish is not there because I know I can do 2 miles now. I know I can. I also know exactly at what point my body will start to yell at me to stop. I know when my brain will not like this. I know when I get bored. I know when my left knee might start to feel a little icky because I got off my form a bit. I know, I know like 10 minutes in how I'm going to feel compared to 20 minutes in, depending on how long I'm going, right? So it's not the distance that the challenge is anymore. The challenge is in my own head and my own body and just how I'm feeling about it and how I'm judging it, essentially. How I'm judging how I'm doing is where the whole challenge is. And that's the truth for voice use too. It's the truth for any kind of voice training or voice therapy you're going through. The judgment you have for yourself is the hardest thing, okay? So if you're always judging yourself as right or wrong or good or bad, your progress is probably going to be slowed by that because you're going to be doing a whole lot of work in your head, beating yourself up over something that's just part of the learning process. It's just how it goes. It's part of training, you know? So instead of thinking right or wrong, good or bad, I tend to encourage people be a little more playful with it. Try to come at it a little more objectively, a little more, what can I do today? Let me see if I can do it. Hold on. Let me see if I can just recreate what I did. And if you manage to do it even just once, if you manage to hit that high note just once, or you got through that really long phrase just once, or, if you're in voice therapy as a patient, you got to that vocal ease just a little bit, you got through those initial exercises with the save ease. Congratulate yourself. Pat yourself on the back, okay? Because we all want validation that we're doing a good job. And that's really what being good or bad is about, right? It's just the validation. So give it to yourself. Be enough of a friend to yourself to pat yourself on the back and say, good job, you. Good job, me. I did do the 2 miles. Yes, I totally did hit that high note. Yeah, I can't do it 100% of the time yet, but I'm getting there. I got it 3 times today, and yesterday I could only do it once. So awesome. Go me. Right? And it's not about building up your ego, it's just about being nice to yourself, recognizing when you still have an area for improvement, but being very nice to yourself when you're still in the process of learning something and you're still in the process of figuring out how to make it more habitual for you, more regular, more something that you just do by default, right? And when you get to the point where you are doing it by default, where you experience vocal ease and vocal flexibility and a lot of vocal, you have ease over your whole range and everything's even and it sounds really good as a singer, let's say. When you get to that level, you're still going to have those moments that you feel in your body were not right. You're going to have that, let's say, okay, let's call vocal ease vocally on, right? Now, if you call that being on, like you're on your technique, you got it, okay? So let's say that's what it is, and you're there like 98% of the time on all your performances. Let's say you're pro level, top 1% of your profession, and you can sing for like 2 hours, and you only have like 2% of that time where you might feel a little hint of vocal strain, You might have that 2% of like, that one phrase was a little harder than I'd like it to be. That one phrase is that was a little tougher than it's normally. I got a little too into that song and got a little rough in my voice because I was a little too emotionally into it, Once you get to that level, you still need to be forgiving to yourself because that 2% is going to stand out to you. That's what you remember from your performance. You remember the times you weren't quite perfect, right? Does that mean you were bad? No. Does it mean you sucked? No. And in fact, usually if you're on like more than I would say 80% of the time, most of the audience is going to think they're darn near flawless because it's part of that perception thing again. The audience is going to perceive it as nearly flawless. I mean, if we're not talking about super pro-level audience members, right? They might perceive it differently. But, most of your fans are just going to be like, awesome, okay? Like, I have a video on here of me, you know, I want to be Megan Hilty, and I still do, and I love her. There's a lot of people I kind of want to be just for a little bit, you know, just to feel what it's like to adopt their awesomeness just a little, right? Hashtag life goals, I guess, like mentors. But, you know, I bet you that there are plenty of performances where Megan Hilty's like, well, I mean, it was okay. Yeah, I did okay. I did pretty well, you know, because she knows that there's these moments where she might not be completely on, completely right, right? She might have had a little tension. But for me, dang near flawless, you know? I don't care about your like 2% that you're off. It's fine, you know? And the real important thing too is, you know, when you get good at, when you, learning to forgive yourself is something we all have to work on. It's something we all have to practice. Being forgiving for the process you have to go through in order to learn, and being forgiven for the fact that sometimes along that process things are going to suck, and you're going to suck at those things, okay? Sometimes you're going to fall on your face. You're going to completely miss that note. And it might be a really important audition where you miss the note. It might be a really awesome, important performance where you miss that note. You're going to have days where you're just not on. And that's okay too. That's just part of human life. So you have to learn to forgive yourself and not beat yourself up over that stuff. So think of it as a process. It's a process. It's something you can learn. You can learn to forgive yourself as a singer, and it starts in the practice room. Start to forgive yourself there, and it becomes easier to forgive yourself later on if something happens outside of the practice room. Okay? So it's not binary. It's a process. It's a continuum. Forgiveness is a vital part of the process. Go forth and be amazing singers. And pat yourself on the back for it. Right. Okay. Bye.